Hi guys, welcome back to this week's episode of Whoscussion. Sorry for the laugh. This thing before we started recording part B that happened. That's still on my mind. We're going to be covering for part B, again, the new 8th Doctor, well, new for us, adventure the 11, part of the Doom Coalition arc, where 8 is traveling with Liv Chenka, and finishing it off with a 7th Doctor short trip question mark called Last of the Titans, that I feel real bad for not telling the rest of the Whoscussion cast, or until finding out this morning that there's actually also an animated version of the story. And
that would have been awesome.
Yeah, I only found out now, so I'm sorry.
It came in the box with Storm Warning as well, right?
Yeah, it did.
So that's a good thing to know as well.
Exactly. So oh wow, that's crazy. That was 8's first story.
Yeah.
Because we got the rights.
Hell yeah.
Hey, we've given you the rights to Classic Who, but you can't have this Doctor because he belongs to Fox. Oh.
Okay.
All right. So.
Hey, Fox, can we get it? You were not using it. Can we get Can we get the companion too? Hell no. What?
That's the weirdest part. Get the companion. And they've only just gotten the rights to that version of the Master as well. It's crazy. Anyway,
I was dressed for the occasion.
Jesus Christ. I was so ready for it.
Where I was dressed for the occasion. Oh my god.
Knee-jerk reaction talking about that Master you got.
He needs to
You've always got to be dressed for the occasion.
Yeah. I don't understand how Big Finish can expand that character, because he was the Master for maybe less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
So
because he gets put into the Iron Harmony.
No, okay.
So what happens after that?
Oh yeah. Well, what happens after that is he literally fights the Doctor as a god, because they both get given god powers momentarily.
Alright, I remember that. But in between that, right up until I'm getting the god power.
Yeah, dude, I love that though. Like, oh my gosh, why does that version of the Master go bald? We'll never know. Oh, because he's a zombie, so his hair's probably falling out.
Because of McQueen.
Yeah. Oh, McQueen, yes. Anyway,
oh, yes.
Oh, yes. He needs to try and go up against the 11, and 11's the reason he becomes Jacoby. I want that to be the case. But anyway. So, the 11. Late Crow, take us away. Harriet's got for quite a while there, but Late Crow.
Alrighty. So we open up and we got this character called the 11, and he's a not nice fella. He's a bad man. He's that's the best summary ever. But no, he's a Time Lord, and he's got this sort of what they call regenerative dissonance, kind of like cognitive dissonance, where all his previous incarnations, personalities, keeping on living on in his mind, which could quite understandably make you a little bit crazy. Unfortunately, most of those incarnations are also not nice people. So he's basically Gallifrey's top criminal. Seven's brought him in, and he's being all Seven.
How
and
cool
11,
is that though, right?
Right.
Seven bringing him the justice. I was like, man.
It's like, yeah, just open up the story. Oh, yeah, hell yeah, ready for an 8 Doctor story. Seven, what are you doing here? But Seven brings him in. He's getting cryogenically frozen in prison, as you do. Got to keep your criminals on ice, because might need them for a time war. Hey.
I like how they're like, oh, so we're doing this because we banned Shada.
Yeah.
And the Livin's all.
You know what happened? You know what happened?
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of things happened. One, there was a time we trapped everybody in this like crazy thing, and then he escaped and things went crazy. Then there's that time that we just erased them from existence, and then we had anti-time. We don't want to deal with that anymore. We're just gonna freeze.
Yeah. Imagine Stephen getting Zagreus? No, thank you.
Oh no, that would. Anyway, so and he swears that he'll get out. It'll be child's play, and then we get the lovely theme. Very well and good. Then we're back in with 8 and Liv there. Doing about having a bit of a jolly old time, as they do, because it's 8's such a happy-go-lucky. I mean, maybe not quite as much as 5, but he likes to have a good time. Unfortunately, the universe doesn't like him having a good time. It's unfortunate.
Because the universe is like, you should be fighting a war right now. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. That's actually what the universe is saying right now. Meanwhile, we have a academy graduate. Is she a graduate? But she's from the academy, and
I think she's doing like their equivalent of her doctorate.
Right.
Well,
and she
certainly was.
Oh yes, she was. Yeah. And she's doing a thesis, I guess, on the 11 because she's studying criminology, and so they unfreeze the 11 so they can have a conflab. And as to be expected, the 11 totally escapes, and they have to be like, "Oh no, well, we need to call the doctor in because he's the last one to have actually helped us with him." So 8 and Liv get kind of scooped up, and they come on, and 8 comes out of the TARDIS and is like, "Oh look, guns pointed at me, didn't see that coming." And he and Padraig have a bit of a conflict. It's like, "Yeah, we knew each other in the academy, hell yeah." And the kind of coordinator's like, "Why do you trust this guy?" And it's like, "You called him, why don't you trust him?" Anyway, And so they go, yo, 11's escaped, and 8's like, didn't I hand deliver him to you, and didn't you freeze him? Why has he escaped? Yeah, about that. And so they go off,
Yeah,
and
we're actually shit.
We used to be a
And
really
it's like-
idea to unfreeze him for somebody's paper at the university. Awesome.
it's a
Why
fantastic.
wasn't they called for that event?
Yeah.
Like, what? I would have called him first. Like, make sure the guy called him last time is here in case he escapes.
Mm. And I love how Liv's like, "Lol, what's going on?" And Doctor's just like, "Oh, in the previous incarnation, I did this thing," and she's just immediately like, "Has an umbrella? Yep, has an umbrella, fella. That's the one. Got it." Just like, which is a fair sort of idea. If 8 has said the last me was scary as hell, and then they were talking about in a previous life, I captured almost a god entity.
She could meet 7, right?
Yeah, she did meet 7.
Her first story was
Yeah,
with
so-
7. So
so she knows.
Rotophobia. It's a hat umbrella. I just love that that's the description. It's like hat umbrella or the one with the hair. It's amazing description of past incarnations. But it's great because you're.
The teeth and the
Just like-
curls.
Oh, the teeth and the curls. Oh my God. Yes, these descriptions, fantastic.
Yeah. Anyway, so they go and review the security footage of what went on when what was her name? It's student. TARDIS Wiki. Kiani. There we go. So Kiani, the student, she's kind of under arrest, which is a fair thing to suspect, I guess. So they've got her locked up, and they're looking at the footage. I love how all the Doctor and Payback and the coordinator like, nothing seems. It's just weird. And Liv's just like, he's standing right there though, and they're all like, oh. And then the Doctor's like, oh, of course they. And I can't remember exactly what they call it, but basically just almost like by focusing their mind, doing sort of a
It's a like
perception filter trick, which.
Yeah.
And the Doctor's like, oh, Pedro, remember when we did that at the academy? Good times, good times.
I love how like one was the guy who came up with it as well. Like,
Yeah.
I've got a great idea. What if we use our psychic mind to like literally trick people into thinking we don't exist? Yo, that's awesome. Let's get naked and ride a striped bear pig. I like that idea too. Let's do it.
And that's how early Doctor should be handled. Just throw away lines that are just
Throw
great.
around lines exclusively.
Yep, perfect.
Now this should be
And
the
so-
episode where you see him as a kid. Why did they
And
get
he's-
made?
Can we not talk about that? We're in part B. Let's not bring up New Who. We're having a good time here. Let's not ruin it. And so things are going on, and the Doctor's like, right, okay, I want to go and talk to Kiani, and we want to go and work out what that was going on. And so they all split off and do various things, trying to track down the 11. And meanwhile, the 11's having a good time, having a bit of a having a conflab with his other selves. I love that his 8th incarnation is the nice one, which is a nice parallel to the fact that we're facing off against the 8th Doctor. So it's big finish, you. So that's going on. He's having it. He seems to be having a bit of a hard time keeping his past personalities under control because they're all a bit power hungry.
Yeah, that one.
Meanwhile-
I want everybody to remember it was my plan.
Yeah.
There's
That's a good.
this fantastic moment shortly after he escapes, where there's the 2 guys in the like blacked out hallway-esque thing. Like no one's used this for ages, and then he's like it's straight out of Die Hard, and then he like knocks one of them out, and he's like, now I have a Staser instead of now I have a machine gun. It's just it's so good.
It
He's so brutal though, because he knocks that one guy out, then kills the other guy, takes the Staser, and then kills the guy who knocked out.
Yeah,
Like,
he just
why?
goes for it. He goes ham.
for the lulz.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've also established that the president is off-world at the moment. So the 11's like, yo, my first incarnation was on the High Council, and I'm totally going to take the presidency right now by enacting this old ass thing here.
Yeah, which
And-
the Doctor's done as well. He's just an article in the Constitution to become the
Yeah.
president.
And then
Of
he
course,
announces
the
it.
Doctor's way of getting through it is because he's literally part of the House of Rassilon
Yeah.
instead of being on the council. Because you know.
And so we got Liv and Payback there investigating Kiani's quarters.
I
Then
love
the Doctor.
conversations that Liv and Patrick have. I think they've got a good chemistry.
They do. Just it's good. And meanwhile, the 11 just. I love how the Doctor's all like, we need to track the 11 down. And then immediately the 11 just comes on all the intercoms and just like, here I am, I'm in the president's office. And they're like, oh, that's the opposite of good. And so he's like, I'm basically acting president now, and there's sort all you guys can do about it. And so that's a fun time. So now he has all the president powers, and he's a bit crazy. So that's fantastic. And meanwhile, Payback has discovered a whole bunch of was it these chip things that the 11 had used to escape, and they're in her room, and that's like, that's not good. I love how when the 11's like, I'm president, and Liv's like, who put this guy on the council? And Patrick's just like, yeah, that might have been me. Whoops. He was fine, and he was fine back then. And Liv's like, well, he's not fine now. Now he looks dumb. So that's a good time. So they're all going about. So 11's president, and the coordinator does a thing. She's just like, right, okay, I'm going to go and do my own thing and totally go and get myself captured by the 11. Fantastic. Good call. And then the doctor catches up, Patrick catches up, everyone catches up, and the 11's like, yo, I've got all the powers right now. And County's like, how about I go with him, because I'm actually the expert. I wrote a thesis on this guy, and I know all the things about him. And the doctor's like, yeah, but you didn't catch him, though, which I did. But that's okay. And things are going on. The County's like, I'm going to go with this guy, and you get the impression that she's going to try and double-cross him, try and do some good. But the doctor's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. It's a really not good idea. But she does it and gets herself killed. And the doctor's like, God damn it, I'm sick of people dying around.
He separates her at a cellular level.
Yeah, it's bloody brutal.
Shit, she's like some teenager in Time Lord years. And he's like, and disperse your cells.
Yeah, but the thing is that he doesn't. I'm pretty sure with the Sash stuff, because he's using their biodata, he's actually disintegrating their biodata.
Oh wow, that means she doesn't exist anymore.
That means that no matrix for her.
Yeah, she goes straight to the body, like, maybe even not even that. Whatever exists beyond death is just gone.
And then so the 11 does a bit of a taunt at the doctor, and then goes, yo, I'm gonna go steal a TARDIS and skedaddle out of here. So that sounds familiar, doesn't it, Doctor? Bye. And he's gone. And the doctor's like, that's the opposite of good. I'm getting really annoyed at people dying right now. Liv, let's go catch him. And Liv's like, yeah, well, you did say that life around you is a bit high adrenaline. Let's go then. And they go off, and we have to wait till next story to find out what happens.
We sure do. All right, so I'm going to grab I'm going to grab Harriet Skelly's thoughts first, coming for the Late Crows, and then move us on to the last of the Titans. So, Harriet Skelly, your thoughts on the 11?
Yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah, he is.
And like in a really good way, in a way that really utilizes just what we know about Time Lords in such a spectacular fashion. Like, just imagine that, like, actually having 11 people in your head, but like not in the dissociative what's it called? DID, dissociative identity disorder. Not like in that way, where you legitimately have other alters that surface, but actually people in your head.
Yeah,
like
actual beings.
More like schizophrenia, but like them actually having their own individual thoughts and feelings, like legitimately another person connected to you at all times in your brain, controlling you in some way. Yeah, he's a bit crazy. But because he's a Time Lord, he's able to use that crazy in a terrifying manner, and it works so well. And the fact that we've already had, if anyone knows anything about Doctor Who and previous setup, we already know about all of the stuff, the taking control of the Sash and the other stuff, and the presidential controls, and just being this sort of capable, and the mind probe as well. Mind probe shows up.
Yeah.
No, not the mind probe. And someone gets their brain fried from it as well. There's just so many bits and pieces of this that come together from years of talking about Gallifrey, and it's very much what Big Finish had planned to do. Obviously, with the war, is go into some more description about Gallifrey, because obviously, if they're going to have the war with the Daleks, then you need to know more about what Gallifrey is all about. And this is a perfect setup for it. And they'd obviously already had all this stuff ready to go. But somebody messed that all up.
Invented Doctor.
So yeah. Again, we're just this is basically part B these days. It's just complaining about how they messed that up. But otherwise, the story is fantastic. They haven't lost anything by BBC messing it up, basically. Like, BBC might have messed it up, but Big Finish certainly aren't losing anything because of it. They're just going to keep going, and it means that 8 is just going to keep going, basically. They're just like, okay, screw you, we're just going to continue with 8.
Absolutely.
So, There you go.
All right, so the Late Crow, your thoughts on the 11?
It was just a good time. I loved it. Yep, 11's crazy. Absolutely. 11 out of 10 crazy. Yeah. Like, one thing I forgot to talk about in the synopsis, but I think that's even more brutal than what he did to Kiani. What he did to Coordinator Farina, just freezing her.
The guards, when he's just like freezes all three of them. He's like, I'm going to watch your colleagues die.
And then use the mind probe on them to extract the info he needed.
He mind probes the lady, what's her face?
Farina.
But Buzz does the biodata ripping of the other people, and they do the squirt sound as well, which is a fantastic Foley sound, by the way.
It is. It's just like, oh, that sounds just disgusting.
No, like you can feel it splatter on the wall. Like that's what you can feel. It's so good, but so bad at the same time.
I love how like Gallifreyan society, before the Doctor started being a rebel, had forgotten what Rassilon's items actually did, and they're like, oh, they're just decorative. And then the Doctor's like, actually, they're weapons of mass destruction.
And there's a lot more where that came from.
Mad props to Mark Bonner for his performance is just stellar.
It sounds like different people.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And he actually talking because of the conversation he has with Kiani at the beginning.
Oh, so good. And I said it in the Whoscussion chat, but it really feels like Matt Fitton just come off a Gallifrey binge listen before writing this.
Yeah.
This story feels like it could have been a Gallifrey story, but just featuring the Doctor. But it was a good time.
Yeah, because with Gallifrey, Leela still thinks he's stuck in the verse. Like, oh, he's still stuck in the anti-time universe. You don't like computers, so you'll never find that out. The machine. Yeah, so the 11 guys, you can pick up Doom Coalition, all 4 seasons of it, for $25 New Zealand.
What?
Yeah, I know, right?
Crazy.
It's pretty insane. There's also a sale going at the moment over at Big Finish, where if you type in clever as the deal's password, you'll get 25 to 50% off box sets over at Big Finish, and not all of them are around Doctor Who. There are other franchises. They got the rights to Star Trek recently, so that's going to be cool for you Trekkies out there. If they can get some of the actors from Next Gen, I imagine them making quite a bit of dollar bills from that. Quite a number of dollar bills. In fact, Patrick Stewart returning to the role. Big Finish. The actor's performance is incredible. Because of the way they work, they actually take control of his mouth when they think. So the fact that he's like saying aloud, essentially is subconscious, because the subconscious is other people, is fantastic. When one's like, I want to cut out her eyes. He's like, I'm sorry about him. He's a little bit crazier than the rest of us. And Kiani's like, I don't feel too comfortable. It sucks. Like I was really hoping she was going to be another Time Lady companion.
No.
And then she got biodata destroyed. He's like, hey, I'm gonna corrupt your biodata because lols. And she's like, when she lets out that scream that she realizes that she just made a horrible mistake. And I feel like if Liv had been the one to go and travel the universe with him, he wouldn't have done that. Chiefly because I think he could only disperse Time Lord Gallifreyans in it with the sash, but also because I think like he was kind of having a gas having Liv. Like Liv's gets along with the villains quite well. It's really interesting.
She really does.
She's like,
just doesn't
stared face in the barrels.
Doesn't even care. Just I'm done.
Yeah, it's over. So yeah, guys, pick up the 11 again. You can pick up all of Doom Coalition because they've gone on to a series called Ravenous now. It's funny, they've got Paul's so busy at Big Finish. He's running a series further along in the 8th Doctor's timeline called the 8th Doctor Time War, and he's also in a sequel series of Doom Coalition called Ravenous. And they're coming out at the same time, and I'm just like, how busy is this man? And like, imagine that. Hey, Paul, today you're gonna be the Doctor that's real angry and like about the Time War. Hey, Paul, you're gonna be the Doctor that's just like trying to chill out after he lost Molly. Cool. With that, guys, we're gonna jump into our last story, Last of the Titans. Harriet Skelly, take us away.
All right, so this is definitely seems like sort of testing the waters for the short trip format. As it's sort of like it's basically narrated by Sylvester McCoy instead of actually being like an in-universe sort of deal like they have been previously. It's very much in that sort of vein where it's like a single person narrating what's happening as well as other things going on. It does also obviously have other voices in it, but just a lot less than the normal like full cast sort of audio. So and it's also way shorter than the other ones. It's like only like half. So yeah, it is definitely them trying to test that, and it works. It really works. But yeah, basically, Seven's decided he wants to take a little bit of a holiday. So he's going to go down to, what was that planet called? Too many names of planets. Just the green.
Amelia.
He wants to go have a break on him. But the TARDIS won't let him, basically. So he tries to force it down, and he lands on a ship somewhere, gets out to try and get his bearings, and then the TARDIS gets put into a goes down a dock chute basically.
Yeah, and then Davros is like,
gone.
"Can you feel it dying, Doctor?" Oh wait,
Exactly.
Sorry.
And he's just like, oh, well, crap. So he tries to find his way around so he can get back to the TARDIS. He thinks he might have seen someone in the shadows, but doesn't quite know for sure. Starts having to draw chalk marks on the walls to get around because it is supremely big. So he's not really sure where to go. Eventually, he finds the would-be captain of this vessel, the person named Vilgreth.
I like Vilgreth.
Who is very much a Nicholas Briggs character, like in so many ways. It's great. He's a good time. Who is apparently the recreation of a species that was previously on Earth,
Titanthrope, I think.
Titanthropes is what they call it. As a reference to the other previous forms of humanity. I guess explain later. It's like some other dead end evolution that humanity takes, where basically they're just like really big people. That's why they're Titanthropes, because they look like Titans. I don't know why it's not giant thrope instead, but hey,
or Nephilim.
Or Nephilim. Well, yeah, it's interesting. He kind of, the way that it's played off, he reminds me of Peter Dinklage's character in
Yes, and Avengers.
Yeah. Like he's like,
Yes.
I'm imagining him as just a big dwarf.
Yeah.
Like that's basically it. Because anyway, we'll continue. So he meets up with him. He basically is like, hey, I'm from Devon in England, and the doctor's like, you're a bit big for a human. What? And he's like, yeah. It was like, oh, okay, I just kind of understand now. We don't quite get it until later when it gets explained to us, but we're still just like, okay, fair enough. He basically is like, hey, my ship got eaten up by one of those docking ports. Can you tell me where it is? And he's like, it's probably getting burned by my furnace right now. And he's like, oh, well, it's technically invulnerable, so it should be alright. And he's like, nothing really should be that invulnerable, but okay. They go down to the furnace, pull it out with, they look in, and Vilgreth, who's able to see through the flames, is like, it's okay, your box is okay, that's really weird. And then they pull it out with a big metal clamp thing, and he's just like, the wood's not even warm. This is a wooden box that was in a furnace. What is this?
He has such a hard time with that.
Yeah. The Doctor gives him a tour of the TARDIS after helping out. The Doctor seems to get along pretty well with Vilgreth. Seems like he likes the Doctor in most ways, and is like, hey, you wanna have a cup of tea? And the Doctor's like, oh, you knew I had tea? And he's like, no, I want to offer you my tea. And he's like, holy crap, we're all tea lovers around here, let's have a tea. Then they go off to get to the bridge to have a cup of tea, but the Doctor sort of lags behind and eventually sees the person that he thought he saw before, who was like a little reptilian police officer, I guess. In some variety of a thing. And basically, he's telling the Doctor that he needs to leave because he set a bomb to blow up the place. And the Doctor's like, why would you do this? Why would you blow up this nice guy? He's not a bad guy or anything. And the reptile's like, you really don't understand, let me explain. And the Doctor's like, I'm not going to let you explain or anything. Totally. And I'm just going to run and tell Vilgreth that we're going to explode. Runs to tell Vilgreth they're going to explode. Vilgreth and him run off to try and find out where the bomb is. They eventually figure it out by way of the first place that the Doctor saw him was near the beginning of his chalk marks. So they go back to the chalk marks, so they find the bomb, takes out the detonator core of the bomb, and it's all good. But then the Doctor realizes, sort of realizes, sort of doesn't realize, until it's really kind of explained at him when he's looking out at the planet that he was going to head to and realizes that this ship is moving into orbit, and the reptile guy comes up behind him and he's like, planets are only useful for one thing. That's what Vilgreth told you, isn't it? And he's like, oh, he's been destroying planets and using them as fuel.
Yes, he has.
Okay, I'm going to be alright with blowing this thing up. But I want to save Vilgreth. And the reptile's like, you can try, I guess. And then the Doctor puts back in the detonator thing, is like, hey Vilgreth, so we're gonna have to blow up your ship because you're kind of destroying all these things. And he's like, I don't care about other people, I don't care. I'm gonna stop you, Doctor. And the Doctor's like,
I'm Steven.
Okay, I'm sorry, whatever, we're just gonna do it. But then Vilgreth tries to attack him. The reptile guy's like, save yourself, Doctor. And Doctor's like, sure, alright, I'm out of here. Gets in the TARDIS and leaves, and the whole thing blows up, and it's all good. He does a little bit of a at the end where he's like, it's the last of a of an extinct race, and it would have been nice for him to be kept around. But obviously, he was not really suited for living in this universe, especially considering he was perfectly fine with just going around and killing everyone.
He was.
And yeah, that was the last of the Titans.
Yeah, I like the last thing just drops his cup and just like,
Yeah.
man, this sucks. it's fantastic. Seven is
Dropping a cup of tea, but won't see that again in the TARDIS. Or Seven.
Oh, he did always dress for the occasion. I'm gonna grab the late Crow's thoughts, come in for Harriet Skelly's, and I'll wrap us up for this week.
It's good. Just like the story, short and sweet. There's my answer.
That's basically how we can just denote these stories now. It's just put them in those two.
Yeah. Just like, we just stopped doing part B. Like, it's good. That's
just listen to them. That's all you need.
Part B is good. All right, guys. That's pretty much my thoughts as well. I can't really add or subtract from this text. Oh, getting all biblically. Am I Russell T. Davies? I certainly hope not. Russell T. Davies. I start like.
Nah, you're too intelligent for that.
Oh, that's ruthless. But thank you. My wife comes home. She just sees like my clothes and like maple syrup all over them. She's like, no. That's all that's left of me.
I would actually kill myself if that happened.
You run and hide. You're like, I don't want to become maple syrup. Just end it now. Just, no. Everybody.
And there's a blood splatter. It's just maple syrup splat.
Everybody who's ever been connected with Whoscussion starts turning into maple syrup simultaneously. This Harriet Skelly's just like, no, I don't want to go this way.
The random guy. I don't feel so good.
I don't feel so good.
Oh no, too sugary. Okay, all right, guys. Well, that is us for this week.
Okay, just before we go though.
Yes.
So Last of the Titans. So just quickly though. So there probably wasn't a Titan throat ever. Because just there's no reason for there would have been no reason. There's no evolutionary reason for us to get like that. Basically, like so the only reason that I don't want to go into a full evolutionary discussion here, or even like just take a test on it for everybody. Anything like that. Basically, you only get bigger if that is a desirable trait, right? So if girls fancied that in a man, then they would go down that road.
Pretty sure I could benefit from that. My short ass could benefit from being bigger.
Yeah, but I mean like in like a general size sort of way. So there's no point in which we would separate like that for that to be the case. It's a nice idea though to think that there were bigger humanoid life forms on Earth, but it just doesn't work in our line of evolution. But what's great about Big Finish in the ways that, unlike New Who, when they go ahead and do stuff like this, they sort of give themselves a little leeway by saying that like it could have been discovered in some way, or like maybe that this was just like a freak DNA thing that someone's pulled out of something, because all they found was DNA. They didn't actually find they didn't say anything about how they found bones or anything like that. They just found DNA. So it could have easily have been a single human deformation that created this, that they've just believed to be a completely different genus. So Big Finish just leave themselves wide open to let that sort of stuff pass, which obviously is easy for them to do in audio, but it's also kind of easy to do in a visual setting when you just have people talk about stuff instead of actually showing stuff.
Don't where you say another thing I thought was when the Doctor is showing the documentary or the news coverage of when he like lost it, went full Hulk smash mode on Earth, and then
the lady, the lady's interview where she was the only one who survived after he killed everybody. That was pretty intense. Well, that's just Big Finish for me, I guess. But yeah, other than that, like the science really does check out. The idea of a fusion drive that effectively just takes matter in makes perfect sense, really.
Was this Unicron?
Or the
it's just
Galactus.
I'm just thinking like it's effectively would be the precursor to the Eye of Harmony. Effectively, is just keep adding on mass and it fuses itself together, and that creates more energy. And then once you're finished with as much energy as you wanted to put in there, you would just go back the other way and convert that energy into something usable. So it makes sense. And the whole idea of like a fleet of massive ships that were just designed to clear out big sections of space like that's kind of intense to think about, but it probably will happen in the future.
Well, guys, that is us for this week, and we will catch you for Midnight and Turn Left. 2 episodes I really like. Except they brought back the actress who played Chantho. It's just out of direction again. But we'll talk about that next week. See you guys then.